There is cultural capital might consist of knowledge, habits, and mindset, right? So if I'm a really tough person and I'm a warrior and a fighter, and I train my children to be warriors and fighters, then that's positive cultural capital that I've given to my children. But if I am irresponsible and a drug addict, and I don't help my children to become better than me, then they may inherit that cultural capital. I know a young guy whose father was a drug kingpin, and his father went to prison and got, 40 years in prison, and his son ended up getting murdered on a block that wasn't too far from where his father used to deal drugs. And in fact, they both got sent to prison from by the same judge. So this is an intergenerational transfer of a different kind of cultural capital, the Nino Brown cultural capital. So he was the man. He was a hood legend because of who his father was. But unfortunately, that translated into prison sentence and ultimately death. Right? Wealthy families, they tend to pass a lot of investing language and strategy, whereas you could have some families though that where they pass on survival habits. They pass on like a scarcity mindset. So it's beneficial on one hand, right? Survival skills are very important when you're trying to survive, but survival skills don't tend to be very appropriate or helpful when you're trying to thrive. Do you see what I mean? Like when you're really trying to grow and trying to build and trying to create and become really wealthy and triple and double everything you have, survival skills don't work so well because it's built on a scarcity mindset, whereas wealth tends to flourish in an abundance mindset. When you have an abundance mindset, that means you say, "Hey, I want to be generous because that's going to, the more generous I am with the universe, the more the universe will be generous with me." But that requires me to have a consciousness and an understanding on how to channel my generosity. Because if I'm generous with everything and everybody all the time, I'm going to lose what I have. But if I'm structured in my thinking and I take calculated risks and I say, yeah, I'm going to make this investment because I thought about it and I know that this is a good thing. So I'm going to invest in this business. I'm going to invest in this stock. I'm going to invest in this woman. I'm going to invest in this child. I'm going to invest in my mental health. I'm going to invest in my physical health. Investors that have an investor's mindset, they invest with abundance. Did you hear what I'm saying? I'm going to take my time with it because I need you to tell me, give me a confirmation that you're hearing what I'm saying. That when you know that something needs your attention and you know there's something you're convinced, like based on your best assessment that you formed through a lot of analysis. Before you invest, you must investigate. So you done investigated that situation. You done thought about who that woman is and what she brings to your life and what the children she can have for you. You done thought about what that man can bring to you. You've thought about what those children mean for you. All right. And you've thought about it. And then you say, okay, I'm going to invest. Then at that point, that is not the time for you to be scared. That is not the time for you to hold back. That's not the time for you to sort of hold on to things. You got to go hard. You pour into it. You pour into the things that you believe are gonna give you the best chance to break out of this sucker and to actually become something better, have your life become something better than what it was. Doesn't mean it's gonna work. You might invest everything in this woman and it may not work out. Right? You may invest everything in your child, and your child may grow up and become one of these spoiled brats. They cuss their parents off because that's a whole trend, by the way, of like children creating traumas from childhood and using that as an excuse to cut their parents off. Where I come from, that don't make sense. I don't think that's appropriate, but whatever. I don't care. It is what it is. But the idea is that you might make an investment that's going to go bad. In fact, I always tell people when they become investors, I say you when you become an investor, you're going to lose more money than you've ever lost in your life. That's a fact. You will lose money a lot. You're going to lose so much money that it would make your head spin right now.